Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's time for another edition of Advent of Code. Real quick, on previous days, I missed day 8, Saturday night, Sunday morning, if you will. I had other priorities, so that was a night to rest. So I'm going to go over day 8 real quick. So day 8 was pretty straightforward. It was another grid problem. You had these antennas that were listed or throughout the map, and they all had some sort of letter or number denotion. Pretty much anything that was not a dot was an antenna. And we had to create the antinodes, which were essentially the a polar opposite, if you will, of half the distance to the center, basically, or twice the distance from each other. And so we could calculate that, and it's between any two antenna of the same type. So lowercase a's and lowercase a's, uppercase a's and uppercase a's, zeros, so on and so forth. And so we had to generate these antinodes. And once we generated them, we had to calculate the count of them. And an antinode could be on top of where an antenna already was. So what I did for my implementation for day 8 is it's day 9. For day 8, I just went through and made basically a map of antennas by the antenna type. So lowercase a, uppercase a, 0, whatever the letter map was, created those groupings. And then for each antenna grouping, I went through each set of antennas and then each set of the antenna again. And anytime, any, anytime the values would equal the same, meaning it was the same node, then I would just continue on to the next one. So that's pretty much how we accomplished day 1. If we were outside the bounds, if there was an antinode that was going to be created outside the bounds, we just continue. We don't count those. And then we calculate all those up into a map. We want the distinct set of where those antinodes were. So I stored them in a map, and then we return the length. That was pretty straightforward. Part 2 of day 8 was the same basic principle, except the antinodes could continue past just one iteration. And so as you can see here, like with T and T, you had antinode here, and then the T's themselves also became antinodes. So the way that we handle that is basically the same thing, but instead of just continuing, we just continue on the same trajectory, increasing our values of DR and DC from where the antinode is. As long as it's in bounds, we're good. And we do that until we get to the end, or until we're no longer in bounds. And then the last part of that was simply if it's a letter in the grouping, well, we know that that position is also an antinode. So I went ahead and did that grouping here as well. So that's how we accomplished day 8. Pretty straightforward, wasn't too complicated. I kind of did that off stream, but again, I had other priorities. So you end up with these values, and so we're now all caught up.